How Potentially Positive Traits May Cause Leadership Failure by Vincent Lava. Some leaders are great, while others fail. Bad leaders can cause many problems for those they're in charge of. They can cause disasters ranging from world wars killing millions of people to economic crashes such as Venezuela's fall from wealth. As you can see on the graph, Venezuela's GDP fell significantly from 2014 until 2020. This was due to a change in leadership when a new corrupt dictator took power and caused many problems for the people of Venezuela. Certain potentially positive traits in leaders, such as resilience, individualism, and confidence, can cause leadership failure if the traits are taken too far. If we don't check our leaders for these traits, we could end up with economic problems, dictatorships, and unnecessary wars. The presentation is connected to the stimulus through the use of the Harvard Business Review source and the meditations of Marcus Aurelius source. Both are used to support major claims in the argument. Resilience is a trait which could cause failures in leaders. It can cause leaders to become fixed on a singular idea and unwilling to change. According to Thomas Chamorro Premisic and Derek Lusk from the Harvard Business Review, they are in effect delusionally resilient, closed off to information which could be imperative to fixing or at least improving behavioral weaknesses. This rigid approach and lack of flexibility undermine one of the key resilience benefits of being able to adapt to a new situation. These leaders will reject feedback and never improve, making them ineffective since they can't adapt to new situations as they come up. In addition to being inflexible, resilient leaders can often have false hope. According to Hamida Madiani, who is a postdoctoral researcher at the Institute for History, Philosophy, and Ethics of Medicine, psychological concepts like false hope syndrome can appear as an extreme optimism created by excessive resilience. This syndrome does not create sustainable patterns of coping and may actually undermine the individual's motivation to act in a desirable manner. False hope leads to lack of action, since leaders will expect others to come and try to save them, rather than figuring out that they have to solve the problem themselves. They will continually hope for this and be continuously optimistic, leading to this problem. Excessive resilience can hurt any leader. However, some contest that resilience can cause leaders to handle problems better. According to George Kohlreiser, a professor of leadership at Ohio State University, resilient leaders can sustain their energy level under pressure, cope with disruptive changes, and adapt. They bounce back from setbacks. They also overcome major difficulties without harming others. This shows why some believe that resilience can be necessary for leaders. Without it, they believe that leaders will turn on others when they're in trouble and blame others for their problems, leading to dysfunctional behavior in their group and decreased morale. While resilience may be helpful sometimes in extreme circumstances, most of the time it actually hurts the leader. Resilience can result in a refusal to give up power in a dictatorship. To prove this, Montgomery Van Wert, who is an author and professor of political sciences at California State University, states, "It is a leadership with an overall agenda that is rapacious and tenacious. Historically, colonialism was a type of international vampire leadership, which created a model difficult to overcome for many of these countries when they became independent. This shows that resilience can harm leaders, harm people being led by leaders, because they will have a new despotic leader who does not want to leave power. This colonialism is another cause for this because in order to successfully lead a revolution, the leader would have to be resilient, often leading to this leader becoming despotic and causing even more problems than when they were originally under another country's rule. Resilient leaders often become despotic and try to keep power as long as they possibly can through their tenacity. Another trait which could cause failures in leaders is individualism. Individualism is growing in popularity in many Western countries, such as the United States. However, it can actively reduce a leader's effectiveness while in power. For example, Juliet Carbone, who is a professor of political and international relations at the University of Edinburgh, states, extreme levels of distrust may contribute to paranoia that is noted in long-serving leaders such as Stalin. We would expect this growing distrust to be accompanied by closed decision-making, hypersensitivity to criticism, and intolerance of dissenting views. Individualism speeds this up, because through an individual's nature, these people would often be unwilling to see that other people are offering criticisms to either help them or not trying to take their power. An individual's leader will often see this as a threat to their power and try to punish the person or even in extreme cases execute them. This can lead to oppressive leadership since the leader will often silence anything and everything against them. Another way individualism hurts groups is through the way leaders influence their people. Philosopher and Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius Antonius supports this when he states, "Ever consider this universe as one living being, with one material substance and one spirit. Observe how all things are referred to the one intelligence of this being, how all things act on one impulse, how all things are concurrent causes of one another, and how all things are connected and intertwined." Individualist ideas hurt this because this is a key part of human nature, and without it, people become separate from each other and not in sync. These people also, when individualism affects them, stop thinking about the group and think more about themselves, leading to difficulty cooperating, since these people will think about their own goals rather than the group's and never actually progress anything. Individualism is not a helpful trait for a leader to have. Final trait which can cause these problems is confidence. Excessive confidence, coupled with other traits, can often lead to arrogance. Arrogance itself has a plethora of problems associated with it for leaders. Stanley Silverman and several other researchers from various universities demonstrate this when they state, not only do arrogant employees have poor task performance, they also do not engage in citizenship behaviors which cultivate a positive work environment. Instead, arrogant behaviors are more likely to cultivate negative climates and toxic environments. These leaders make this worse because they can use their power to silence others, and because they can affect a larger range of places and make the climate toxic in more and more areas. Arrogance also directly hurts the people under the lead. In an article, author Tish Scolaro states, "There's nothing healthy or compelling about an arrogant leader. Such leaders harm their companies more than they help them. They drain employee motivation, foster high turnover rates, and paralyze entire departments. They also quell everyone's ideas but their own." These leaders actively reduce the effectiveness of those around them because by quelling any ideas that aren't theirs, they will often remove helpful ideas. They also will insist on using their ideas, even if their ideas are obviously flawed and these flaws are shown to them. Excessive confidence can hurt leaders because it can bleed over into arrogance. Leaders fail for many reasons. Some reasons are unavoidable, such as problems being left to them by the old administration, or natural disasters such as a large hurricane or famine. Some of these failure reasons come from the leader themselves and their tendencies. Excessive resilience, individualism, and confidence are some potentially positive traits which could cause leaders to fail. An example of these traits causing failure is through Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. Maduro was a corrupt dictator who came to power through his resilience to fight his way to the top. His individualism is shown through his mistrust of others and calling for everyone's ideas but his own. And finally, his overconfidence is demonstrated through his lack of caring what anybody else thinks of the situation. Individualism, resilience, and confidence can cause leaders to fail everywhere. Thank you.
Terrific. Thanks, Vincent. I got 2 questions for you, and then we'll wrap this up. So question 1 is, how did your research question evolve as you went through the research process? Tell us a little bit about it.
Originally, I had decided to use different traits for the ones I was going to focus on. I was going to focus more on cooperation and groupthink instead of individualism. However, due to a lack of research, high quality research, I found I couldn't effectively argue that groupthink was caused in leaders.
Okay, excellent. And then as a follow-up to that, what additional questions emerged as a result of your research?
One key question that emerged was that how can we prevent our leaders from having these traits or make sure the traits do not affect them well? This affects entire communities because these leaders can cause significant problems for everyone.
Fantastic.